The GT2 European Series, powered by Pirelli, is back on its travels this weekend. It has come to Belgium, it's come to Spa-Francorchamps, and it's also performing in absolutely glorious weather. Yep, Spa and glorious weather in the same sentence. Not a cloud in the sky, really hot temperatures, and Belgium looks set for a 10-day heat wave for 2 weekends of action. Speed Week this weekend, the crowd strike 24 hours of Spa next, and here with the temperatures at 25 degrees centigrade, we are getting set for GT2 qualifying. We being David Addison and Joe Osborne. You're looking at the new pit building. That's the old race control site, the old Uniroyal Tower. Now this much more modern building. There's a bridge across the track overlooking the heritage pits as well. The green flag has just been shown, so the session is live as the reigning AM champion Philippe Pret makes his way down the pit lane. And Joe, again, it's a busy grid like we had at Monza. Some good racing in prospect and a bit of shuffling in the entry list as well. Some new faces and some returning faces.
Yeah, we saw Monza, didn't we, suddenly catapult the grid size up from anything we experienced last year, which was great to see. This is one of the cars that shuffled. It was a Porsche. We're now in a Maserati for the Iron Dames by SP Racing. So looked like they struggled in that Porsche. They're the only Porsche on the grid in that instance. So the Maserati are much more well-known GT2 prospects. Yeah,
the Porsche is being used by the Dynamic Racing, or Dynamic Motorsport rather, team in Italian GT. So the Iron Dames by SP Racing squad have taken over the Maserati that's normally in that gold hue for Roberto Pamparini and Mauro Calamia. Driver 1 then onto the circuit for 15 minutes. And they're not going to get very many laps in, of course, but a very gentle exit from the pit lane there for Thomas Anderson with the Razzoon More Than Racing KTM. Simon Birch back behind the wheel with him this weekend as the co-driver. Simon Birch we're now seeing in GT World Challenge Europe, but it's good to have him back in GT2. Pit lane gradually emptying. Maserati, Ginetta, KTM, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Audi, Mercedes are your brands represented in GT2 this weekend. They need to hurry up. Clock's ticking.
The problem is the pit lane is the full length, isn't it? F1 and endurance combined. So it takes 75 seconds just to do that. Plus the outlap on these cold Pirelli tyres, it's probably going to be 2.5 minutes or so. So suddenly we're going to probably be crossing the line with around 11 minutes remaining, maybe slightly less, for our lead car of Philippe Pret kicking the gravel up that's already been brought on this morning. The gravel traps really changed profile around turns 6 and 7, so the gravel getting brought on is a lot more prevalent than we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, Philippe Pret had a good start to the campaign, didn't he, at Monza? And there you're looking at one of the Ginettas. We've got the car for Ethan Gialdini and Michael Muir, plus the Lawrence Tomlinson, Mike Simpson car. And it's Ethan Gialdini we're looking at. Race wins at Monza. Antoine Potti in the first, and David Thelenius and J-Mo Hurtling in the second race. Both of which get good racing, the dramas, and one of the beauties, of course, of double driver racing is the differing pace of a Pro and an Am. And also in this, of course, you've got that extra compensation time. So the top 3 in race 2 at Monza across the 3 classes, which are Silver, Pro-Am and Masters, they all have slightly longer pit stops going into race 1. So getting a runaway winner race after race after race after race really doesn't happen.
No, and that keeps the racing fresh, doesn't it? And because that penalty happens halfway through the race during the pit stop, you kind of get 2 races in one as well, so it keeps it very fresh. Ginetta's benefiting from being towards the end of the pit lane, so they will be the first to start a flying lap, but you can see from the body language of the cars, tyres not ready, so I don't expect this to be a particularly representative lap time. So again, it's going to be 9 minutes until we probably see the start of a push lap, so we'll nearly be halfway through this session by the time we see what these cars can do pace-wise.
Oliver Freimuth going through with the Lamborghini, a car that he drove last year and has also raced within Super Trofeo. But Oliver Freimuth, who for many, many years was a loyal Renault one-mate racer, going now down towards Bruxelles, that long right-hander. You're plunging downhill at this point, turning right, and then to get back onto the power towards the left-hander of Speaker's Corner. Meanwhile, over the timing line here comes the green-roofed KTM up towards La Source. This being 898, that's the MZR Motorsport Centrum Ried car of the 2 pseudonymed Austrians, Max Grip and Jack Russell. And more Maseratis prevalent as well within the entry. Got Audi on the entry list as well. LP Racing as ever a busy team. And now we're starting to see proper competitive sectors with effectively a third of Q1 gone.
Yeah, and this Maserati is still weaving left to right, just trying to build the tyre temp. Tyre temp always coming better from hard braking, accelerating, but it's hard to do that on the long straights here at Spa and not get a slow lap time, and that's going to be the win here. It's going to be some cars I think are going to get 3 push laps and some will get 4, and maybe those cars that do get the 4th one are going to be artificially higher, so they'll do well in qualifying, but maybe in the race they'll be out of position, so we're going to see an exciting race for some cars maybe not in the position they should have qualified.
Now this is the Antoine Potti I4 race Maserati. Antoine driving for a team that's fresh into circuit racing from rallying, and he was a winner in race 1 at Monza and then had a puncture in race 2 very early on, not only in the race but in the lap, and it just wasn't really worth trying to drag the car around. So a bittersweet weekend, a win and a retirement. Yeah,
it kind of got hidden, didn't it, on the inside the barrier curve of Grande. It disappeared there and we never saw it again, and that was a real shame for that car that, like you said, David, showed such great speed across the stints in race 1, and they'll be looking to bounce back from a DNF last time out.
So from Blanchimont down towards the chicane they come, and Antoine Potti will be rapid. We're looking for a target time, and oops, off the road there goes 119 KTM. That's in the hands of Marius Eigner, who got better and better at Monza. He started off perhaps a little slowly, but by the end of the weekend was looking a lot more racy. And here, too racy into Bruxelles, loads of understeer through the gravel. No harm done, he's able to carry the momentum out the other side.
Yeah, strange one, wasn't it? Because you could see the car stopping, as in the brake force looked right. So I can only assume it was too late, or the tyre grip wasn't there. Could even hear the ABS activating, the skid noise coming on off as the ABS there. Gravel still pouring out of this KTM, bouncing off the carbon fibre bodywork and maybe even the carbon fibre chassis in this KTM as well. But luckily he's got time to clear all that gravel out before the start of his next lap.
Now we're starting to see an opening lap time. Philippe Pret, who is the Masters Championship leader, he is the fastest on a 2:24.378. 89 KTM is Victor Marache going out of La Source hairpin. So Pret, Lawrence Tomlinson, and then Antoine Potti was the top 3, but now Shota Abkhazova in the Lamborghini number 12 has gone second. Now Abkhazova wasn't here yesterday for free practice. They've got 898 KTM. But Abkhazova up to second, somebody that did race in GT2 at Misano last year. And even though he's given away quite a bit of track time, that's not a bad start to the day. This is Max Grip, as I say, pseudonym Austrian driver who's raced KTMs in the One Make series and in the Creventic series. And he shares with another pseudonym driver, Jack Russell.
Yeah, we're seeing 4 manufacturers inside the top 4 at the moment. Maserati, they're on the flashes trying to warn the KTM they want to get out of the way. We haven't seen Mercedes put a time on the board. Rokash has just gone, as again we're seeing a problem with that KTM, so maybe there is something in the braking. That's the exit of La Source turn 1.
Yeah, Marius Eigner again in stride. This is Antoine Potti then, who's done an absolute best sector 1. And this is a car, remember, with a solo driver. So although your pit stops take a little bit longer if there's compensation time, we know the car is good for this pace all the way through the weekend, because Potti does not have to give way to anybody else who is slower. So he accelerates up now through Blanchimont. Antoine Potti in silver. Load of tyre smoke settling there from the chicane. Who was that?
I don't know. There's a few options there, isn't there? Just looking on top 1. Could be 62 or the 111 of the cars going into turn 1. So 2 cars in front of this Maserati is going to cross the line any second now.
Okay, we just had a slow lap, or slightly slow lap from Lawrence Tomlinson, and the lap of Antoine Potti puts him second, and I think this is the answer to the smoke. It was Lawrence Tomlinson's car having a lose coming into the chicane, and he absolutely floors the throttle and does his Terry Grant stunt driving almost 360 degrees. That's a set of Pirellis that's probably now lost its edge.
They're definitely warm enough, aren't they? We said about not having tyre ovens. Lawrence committed to the right pedal and kept his foot all the way in. And at one point, I didn't know if he was going to flick it to the right, but he's actually gone all the way back round and then has to go round. But yeah, style points up high there as he lays down the rubber and rejoins. And beautiful slow-mo there. I'm sure he's going to enjoy watching that one later if he has a competitive qualifying.
Yeah, that cost him around about 4 seconds to the new top time of Stefan Rossina, who this weekend is in the LP Racing Audi. with Louis Pret, who makes his GT2 debut. Louis, son of Philippe. This, in the meantime, is Ethan Gialdini, and Gialdini is second fastest in the Ginetta, 1.8 seconds back, but still looking good because he's improved in the first sector, and he's improved to a much better Sector 1 time than the equivalent of Rossina on this lap.
Yeah, he's only 2/10 off that fastest Sector 1 now, so that's going to be an interesting lap. The Ginetta in Sector 2 seems to be very strong. Actually, Sector 1 is the weakest, so to only be 2/10 off, this could be a mega lap from the number 3, the sister car to the spinning Lawrence Tomlinson that we watched a second ago.
Runs in the Silver Cup. The championship overall being led by David Thelenius and Jamo Hurtling, but then you've got the individual classes as well, and they're getting caught up in traffic this time, I'm afraid to say, is Ethan Gialdini. The Mercedes eventually gets out of the way. That looks as though it's the Alberto De Martin Neil Montserrat car. Alberto De Martin at the wheel of it, but the Ginetta encountered that in exactly the wrong part of the racetrack, and the sector time is down by nearly a second, at 9/10.
Yeah, so he's now 1.1 down on the lap after 2 sectors. He's 1.8 off overall at the moment, so there still could be an improvement on his time, but totally 6-7 tenths lost. Kicking up the sparks there as the car actually bottoms out, it seems like, turning into Blanchimont. So this Ginetta fully planted, very low to the ground, and the braking squirming, and this is his last chance to go. On already 4 minutes and 15 seconds remaining, the time evaporating.
It does rather. Antoine Potti has gone top in the Maserati, 2 minutes 20, but Ethan Gialdini goes fastest of all on a 2:18.807. Where did that come from? Well, it partly came with an absolute best third sector, but having hemorrhaged nearly a full second in Sector 2, that is a mega effort from Ethan Gialdini. Maybe being held up by the Mercedes got him so incensed that he's absolutely lit the blue touch paper in that last sector, and boy, has he delivered to be 1.3 seconds quicker than anybody else, as here Thomas Yu Lee comes up towards the timing line, trying to improve on 12th and not improving on 12th. Slower lap time, in fact.
Yeah, that Sector 3 was phenomenal from the Ginetta. 9 tenths quicker than anyone else on that last lap alone. So, yeah, that car is properly planted through Sector 3.
Over the line as well goes Shotran Kazava in that blue Lamborghini. Was it here last year or the year before? He got involved in a bit of an accident at the start of the Super Trofeo race, which didn't do him much in terms of endearing himself to race control. Meanwhile, the Iron Dames Maserati comes through. Lara van den Hengel at the wheel, and number 85 is 9th fastest now. That was a little bit slower. Started off all right, but then van den Hengel just dropped time across the rest of the lap.
You could hear the understeer from the car, which is quite rare. As we see Potti second at the moment, 1.3 off pole, just getting kicked up more and more through Piff Paff now as the drivers cut the apex, and it looks like the tyres going away from Potti, the car squirming around. It's going to be hard to improve at the moment. It's tight between the classes as well. Philip Pret leading Masters, Lawrence Tomlinson fastest in Pro-Am is going well, but yeah, when you look across the field, having 3 classes, there's so many inter-race battles we're going to have to keep an eye on later this afternoon.
Antoine Potti, though, is on another mission. Oddly, the sector times are down. I just wonder whether he's going to get to the checkered flag or bail early and get ready for Q2, because he's not improving. Adrien Ferrer is, and he's just gone third with an absolute best sector 3 in 1:16 Mercedes, and Potti does indeed bail.
Yeah, I think he got driven Potti, didn't he, by the Mercedes in front, so has had to box early, and yeah, interesting to see if that time is going to be good enough to keep him up the board, because the lap of the Ginetta getting deleted from a track limit issue, I assume. Just trying to see where that Ginetta lost its lap time. Obviously, track limit's prevalent everywhere in World Motorsport, but here at Spa, even more so. Absolutely, and very close to the gravel there, Thomas Anderson, who's got this KTM up to 8th in the times. First sector was better than it had been, second sector slower than it had been. Gialdini back to the top on 2:18.8 now. Still, sorry, 2:18.6, still looking good. And the Ginetta heading towards the end of the session with just over a minute to go. Yeah, that was why I was fearful for Potti, that him having to come in the box, tyres done, and now he's been jumped, that is going to drive him fully around the bend. 1:16 meanwhile, Adrien Ferrer improved last time to go fourth on a 2:21.
1:55. Adrian, remember, new to GT2 this season, having raced in America for a period of time, and while he was there, was a ARCA Menards Championship racer for Toyota. But good to have him back in Europe, and he was certainly quick at the Monza races. So Adrian Ferrer comes down towards the chicane. Assuming he stays out, he might just be able to squeeze another lap out of the session, looking at the clock. But let's see what he can do. The second sector was slower than it had been previously. He will bring it to the line. At the moment, he's fourth. Can he get himself to the other side of that row? Can he get himself on the front row even? The answer to both questions is no. Slower lap, stays fourth.
Yeah, it's only going to be himself and the two cars behind. Aigner with that KTM, which we think's got an issue with the brakes, has just done its fastest lap, but 9 seconds off pole at the moment for that KTM. And the other car that could have done a lap is the 119, and that has carried on as the checkered flag is now out.
It is indeed. Session at an end. So Ethan Gialdini then takes pole position. And a good effort that by Gialdini. There is a point for pole position, and in silver it was the Brandon Oxley and Adrian Ferrer car that was on pole in both races from the silver class. There's the car that had a win in race 2 at Monza, 111, which is David Thelenius, who is down in 16th, which sort of therefore illustrates the Pro-Am difference, because it's a winning car at Monza. J-Mo Hartling is going to be behind the wheel for Q2, and no doubt it'll be up the order. But then bear in mind as well, because it had a win at Monza, that's got an extra 10 seconds to serve in the pit lane. So that's going to hurt, given with respect the pace of Thelenius in this session. Yeah, and the pace of this Ginetta has been strong as well. After, you would say, Monza was a Mercedes track, it seems like here maybe that's gone away. Fastest Mercedes in 4th place, 2.3 seconds off this GT2 Ginetta. So down the pit lane it comes. And a good effort that by Ethan Gialdini. So he is fastest. Already you can see the driver changes cycling through, ready for Q2 as Wilhelm Kuhne gives way to Moritz Wiskirchen. New set of Pirelli tyres ready to go on. But yeah, Ethan Gialdini it is then who takes pole position. And the time in the end, 2 minutes 18.804. Good effort by Gialdini. That's the target. Standalone sessions, standalone grids, of course. So what we have next is going to determine the race 2 grid, and it's going to be about 5 minutes away, give or take. So very quickly the teams have to get the cars back and go again. With an accident earlier on in the day in the British GT, French GT session, the timetable has slipped a little bit. So race officials with a hugely busy day trying to trim back the time where they can. So unless you're on a really quick lap at the end to the checkered flag, you'd be advised to bail and get set early for Q2. There you can see the new pit buildings in the background, and Spa looking resplendent as it gets set for one of its 2 biggest weekends of the season. So Ginetta, Maserati, Audi, Mercedes, AMG, Lamborghini. Maserati is your top 6. Silver headed by Ethan Gialdini, Masters by Shotrab Kazava, and Pro-Am by Lawrence Tomlinson. There's your top 4. Ethan Gialdini ahead of Antoine Potti, Stefan Rossina and Adrian Ferrer to round out that top 4 ahead of Shotrab Kazava, the best of the Masters from Philippe Pret, and then Lawrence Tomlinson, the best Pro-Am. Oliver Freimut going well actually to be 8th ahead of Thomas Andersson, and Andrzej Rokosz to round out the top 10. So a margin of 1.3 seconds, that is quite a gap. Outside the top 10, Alberto De Martin a long way back, 11th from Lara van den Hengel, and then Thomas Lee Yu. Marius Aigner 14th, despite the issue from Victor Marache and Rodrigue Gillon. David Thelenius 17th ahead of Max Grip. Patrick Michelier 19th, and to round out the 20, Wilhelm Kuhne's SRO Motorsport by Schnitzelarm Mercedes AMG. So cars now get themselves ready for the second part of qualifying. Lots of track limits reported in the first, and also we've had a number of cars losing their lap times deleted for excessive track limit abuses. So drivers needing to be mindful of that as they get set for this second session. And there is Antoine Potty. Arguably, Joe, this is going to be a tougher session because this is where in the Pro-Am cars, the pros are ready to go. And that means there are even more drivers you've got to be fearful of to combat your time.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of track limits just looking at the timing screen there. There must have been 12 to 15 laps lost.
Yeah.
So the pros always pushing the boundaries more. The only thing that I thought is slightly unfair to the amateurs is they have to start fully cold brakes and tyres, whereas these brakes now will be 500-600 degrees, radiating heat into the tyres. Maybe with this long lap at Spa, we're going to see cars able to push on their first flying lap rather than second and third for those amateurs. Of course, more energy from the pros helps that as well, but the ambient being so high, the tyres are probably starting at about 30-degree ambient. Then with the brake temp, they're probably going to be at 45, 50 degrees. By the end of the lap, 70, and you're in a window there where you can generate a good lap time.
So we'll see shortly what times are going to be offered up in Q2. A 2:18.8 is the target. And we are almost ready to go. We're into the last minute before we go green at the end of the pit lane. Drivers strapped in the single driver to car entries. They just remain behind the wheel. Oliver Frym at one of them. And 11:16 is confirmed as the start time. That's about 40 seconds away. And again, only 15 minutes. Yesterday, a lot of track time afforded through free practice, but qualifying, pressure is on.
It's always nice as a driver when you get 2 qualifying sessions. Pretty rare in any modern GT racing to get like a second set, second go. So those single driver outfits, we see it from Philip Pret a lot, don't we? He improves on himself because he knows what to do before the tyres dropped away. So we'll keep an eye on what he can improve as a guide. He did a 2-minute 22.5, so that'd be a good reference of what he can achieve in this Q2 session.
Interesting also to see where his son rocks in, because Louis Pret, who we get used to seeing in a McLaren in GT World, he's going to be on this grid as well, and he'll do the qualifying session now. There is number 8. That is Nicola Pirri, Luca Pirri's son, taking over from Thomas Lee. KTM's Burble down the pit lane behind, and we'll start to see some lap times being offered up in a few minutes' time, because it's, as we've been making the point, a long out lap, then a start-up lap, then you go for it.
This is a slight issue, isn't it, when the driver change, tyre change takes a bit too long. You're losing of track time.
Let's get to the pit lane. Thomas Lee has done his session. That gives him the opportunity to talk about that session in the company of Bryn Lucas.
Yeah, thanks very much there, Addis. Here with Thomas Lee, as you say. Now, it was a good quality session for you. It's interesting conditions out there, particularly with the race coming up later on. Different conditions for the race as to quali.
Well, I'd say that, you know, for me, being out for one of the very first times, you know, very little experience, I think definitely try my best to get to where I need to be. Still very tough, I'd say, but, you know, the fact that now the quality is done for now, just got to focus on the race.
You've had a couple of good results, particularly the second race last time out in Monza, and when you look at this one here, if you look at the results, they're working your way up the order, no compensation time or anything like that, so clean track, no problems ahead of you.
Yeah, honestly, with first race, yes, in Monza, there's a lot of emotions, even to talk about it right now. But I say, again, past is the past, so I'm going to focus whatever that's in the front. Yeah.
What about racing at this such famous place? And obviously you have the USA flag on your midriff there, but what about racing here in Belgium?
Oh my God, Spa is definitely one of my favorite tracks, and it's such an honor to be here to you know, race in one of the most historical F1 tracks, right? So yeah, it's a pleasure, and luckily we have really good weather out here as well too. So I'm gonna try to enjoy as much as I can.
Best of luck later on.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
So a very happy Thomas Lee makes his way back down the pit lane, and we'll get to his car shortly as this session then is underway. Now Thomas Lee gives way to Nicola Pirri. Right, bit of tyre warming, tyre prep, as here the Mercedes AMG in the hands of now Petra Lisha comes up towards us. And behind is Mike Simpson in Ginetta number 62. He, as ever, is going to be one to watch. So those two getting themselves together up at Les Camps. The road's still climbing at this point. Only now do you start to go downhill. But there's an awful lot of uphill at Spa, trust me. They're the SRO Motorsport Mercedes. Again, tyre prep down towards that long left-hander of Pouon.
Interesting, it's a very slow outlap from a lot of cars, isn't it? I don't know if that's the logic to try and get the tyre prep done on the outlap, or I think in Mike Simpson's case, he just didn't want to go offline. It's so dirty. He was waiting for that Mercedes to get out of his way so he could keep his tyres clean, as we see the Maserati versus Audi battle here on his outlap. Bit of jostling for position will get more important as they get to the end of the lap, and obviously want to start the lap without any compromise.
The Maserati now in the hands of Sarah Bovy, who was the Grand Marshal at Le Mans a week ago, the first non-winner to be afforded the privilege. The Iron Dames by SP Racing entry, and on home soil, Sarah takes over. But interesting to see how they adapt to a new car. You say that rightly, the Porsche that they drove at Monza, perhaps they didn't gel with, but they're starting afresh with yet more new machinery. And actually, in Sarah Bovy's case, she knows about GT3 style Porsches, if not GT2. Now it's a totally new concept.
And you would say the Maserati has been the go-to GT2 car, haven't you? Over the last few years, it seems to be competitive everywhere, a mix of circuits. So hopefully for them, it's a positive change, and they can be at the sharper end than they were last time out.
So Mikkel Nior in number 3 Ginetta. Antoine Potti stays behind the wheel of his Maserati. Patrick Michelier's Ferrari, Shotram Kazavas Lamborghini. They're the first 4 through, on now to a flying lap. As you look there at number 62 Ginetta, Mike Simpson makes a great noise, that car, as it thunders down the hill.
Yeah, I bumped into Lawrence Tomlinson, Ginetta owner, this morning as it flies through a ridge. You can see the puff of smoke. He's been racing out in the United States as well, and the Americans have got the perfect ear to appreciate that noise as well. So that car hopefully going to be popular this side of the pond and that side, as Mike Simpson backing out of this. Obviously, he's gone through a rouge, decided the tyre isn't there, and is going to go for another prep lap. That's quite a common thing as a driver. You go through the first part of the lap as fast as you can. You see how it feels. You look at the lap time delta, and if it's not there, then you decide to bail on it early and let the tyre come up in a more forgiving manner, rather than just driving flat out on a lap that won't ultimately be your fastest.
And that illustrates the drivers that are experienced, the drivers that are using their heads, rather than, oh crikey, we've only got 15 minutes, I need to go for it and put as many laps in as I possibly can. Here you've got that ability to read the session and have confidence within yourself that, okay, this isn't the ideal lap, I'll scrub it, I'll go again, I won't waste the tyres, but also confident that they're not going to exceed track limits and squander the opportunities they do have. Yeah, and to kind of back up that point, the sister Ginetta has just gone fastest on a 2:23. That's 5 seconds off what that car did for pole position in Q1. So that is going to be fundamentally a pointless lap by the end of this session. So you might as well let the tyre warm up nicer, because you're going to have to use these tyres in the race as well. And there is a problem. If you push too hard on it early, you can damage it and take the life out of it. So it will hurt you towards the end of the race as well as your qualifying. So the session with 8.5 minutes still to go, as we look at a bit of cement dust or sand put down. We had a Porsche that crashed in its qualifying session at that part of the racetrack. That's why the track prep has been done there. Into the chicane, a bit deep as well, comes number 110 Mercedes. This now with Moritz Wiskirchen at the wheel, but he pulls the pin, ready to go for a flying lap now. Wiskirchen, we know he's quick, and he's just gone top on a 2:23.3, but again, we're miles off what was being achieved in Q1 when the drivers were at their quickest. Yeah, Potti has just gone purple in Sector 1. This car we're looking at here, the black and fluoro yellow Maserati, is just under half a tenth quicker than the ultimate Sector 1. So this is what we're starting to see. The drivers that are not sharing the car are able to really get on it that bit quicker. So this lap, if stays good, should be in a high 18, maybe a low 19. Potti, we understand, did run wide at Pouon, but looking at the sector times, there's evidence to suggest that Potti's lap has not gone down the pan, so it should be a good effort, this, when he gets to the chicane. Meanwhile, Sarah Bovey has gone fastest on a 2:22.0. This is the car that topped the times in Q1. Now Michael Muir at the wheel of it with a personal and an absolute best. And as he goes fastest, he does a 2:18.7. So quicker than his co-driver went by a tenth of a second.
Yeah, Ginetta looking phenomenal. I wonder what Mike Simpson's going to be able to do. The Mercedes that we were following at the start of the lap has gone fastest in Sector 1. The times are coming in thick and fast like we thought it would in this pro session. Here's the sister Mercedes, the 111, J-Mo Hartling, down the order at the moment, but hasn't set a lap time. This is his first offering as he crosses the line now to go second.
So Hartling, the Monza winner then in race 2, 1.3 seconds down. It's still quite a margin that Michael Muir has over everybody else, and that was not quite the perfect lap. It was a personal and then 2 absolute best. The new absolute best, though, in Sector 1 has gone to Mercedes 116, Brandon Oxley at the wheel, and he again was fast at Monza, so Oxley a man to watch. This is Viskirchen, who is improving in the sectors. And having just said that Brandon Oxley had gone fastest in Sector 1, well, he's had his lap deleted for track limit offences.
We saw the car here of the Mercedes really struggling with oversteer as they turn into Stavolo 1, so maybe the tyre already starting to go away. The rear tyre always going away first. Obviously all the power going through, and over 700 horsepower from this GT2 Mercedes. Traction looks good as he's going to break the line. Where are they going to be? And it is only 4th place on another 220, although Simon Birch in the KTM behind has finally got sub 20 and a 19.7.
Yeah, so the margin is being reduced, isn't it, between the two of them, as we look now at the charging number 115 Mercedes. That is Neil Montserrat, the team owner, at the wheel of that car, and we've yet to really see anything proper out of him because he's way back in 14th. Mike Simpson has gone fastest, though, on a 2:17.920, best lap of the day, first driver into the 17s. That's nearly 8 tenths up on the rest of them. Well, there's your answer. That's what Mike Simpson can do, so it's looking good for Ginetta. It's a 1-2.
Really good, and these are fast times, aren't they? We saw these cars faster than GT3 cars at Monza. It's going to be very close between these cars and the British GT qualifying later on. I think it's going to be a 10th one way or the other, but that's a phenomenal lap from Mike Simpson to go nearly 8 tenths clear.
Mercedes running together here. Look, we are about just under 5 minutes away from that checkered flag. Moritz Viskirchen, absolute best in the first sector in Mercedes number 110, the sister car to J-Mo Hartling's that has dropped time in the second sector, and he now tries to get through the traffic. He gets up the inside of Montserrat. So Hartling here losing time in sector 2. The lap is currently good enough for 5th. Let's see where he ends up as he breaks the beam now. He's up to 4th, J-Mo Hartling, with a 2:19.656, and Montserrat lap he improved, but only to 11th.
Yeah, and they're only going to get another couple of laps where they are on track with time remaining. That was a desperate lunge. In a race, it would have been desperate. In qualifying, it shows you how much J-Mo wanted that lap. As we look at Brandon Oxley, he had been going purple in Sector 1 with track limits and without track limits, but this lap is dropping away, and this could be the story of the qualifying for the Mercedes. I think they seem to work the tyres slightly harder than everyone else as he lays down a load of rubber coming out of Brussels, turn 8.
Lap times for Nicola Piri, also for Brandon Oxley and for Antoine Potty deleted, only those 3 drivers. So I think they're being a bit more behaved than we had in the first session, with in some cases different drivers. The flag is 3.5 minutes away as you look there at 116. This is the car in the hands of Brandon Oxley. We've just had another improvement coming from Nicola Piri up to 11th. This is Mike Simpson down in the sectors. He may well be pitting.
Yeah, I think he's done his job, hasn't he? One fast lap, put it on pole, and now he's going to box and look after the tyres. And his teammate, boss, owner of Ginetta, Lawrence Tomlinson, will be very happy with his employee. He even got the peace of mind to be able to flick the indicator on to let everyone know he's coming in the pits.
Mike, as the MD of Ginetta, also proving to potential customers everything works. Look, the indicators work. So, yes, you're right. He's being a gentleman and showing what he's going to do, but also proving that the Ginetta is a good, solid race car. Sarah Bovey up to 5th. She's just gone through on a 2:19.919. Good effort by Sarah. And another improver, Stefan Rossina, up to 8th. I would have thought Rossina should be fighting for pole, but then you could argue the Audi is one of the older cars. Maybe it's just now not quite got the edge.
Yeah, Bovey was the fastest Maserati until Potti just a second ago took that back to take 5th overall and that fastest Maserati crown. But yeah, very tight between a lot of these cars.
Up towards the timing line here, more Mercedes, so let's keep an eye to J-Mo Hurtling. Doesn't improve. Neil Montserrat behind will go across the line. He does improve, but he's only 12 in the times. Reinhard Koffler's another one that's gone better, up to 11th. Still get the feeling it's a rather jumbled grid, this, as you look at number 1, Philippe Pret. He's a long way back, only 14th. How's Louis Pret doing in the meantime? I've lost him. I think Louis' time is credited to Stefan Rossina, the transponder in the wrong place. So maybe that's also why the car's a little bit further back, because it's new to GT2 racing for Louis Pret. So Stefan Rossina shown as being 8th. So Lawrence Tomlinson's happy.
Yeah, you could hear the team clapping as the car came in, and that's a pretty loud clap to be heard over the V8 there. French team of CMR very happy, and Lawrence happy with Mike Simpson too. So Ginetta on pole in both sessions and a 1-2 in this session as well. And
the cars all run out of the same CMR, Classic Modern Racing stable, but as you make the point, different cars. 2 different driver combinations across them. So yeah, it's going to give us some interesting racing. We're into the last minute of qualifying. Mike Simpson about to take off the crash helmet, and a job well done. Next weekend's busy for Ginetta, not here, but back in the UK. Their Ginetta Festival, G-Fest, up at Crofts, which is probably going to be the focus of Mike's world, rather than being here. So GT2 being a week before the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa fits in really well for him. Yeah, really nice. I saw Jack Mitchell in the background as well. He'll be racing GT4 Ginetta as we see cars trying to find their space, knowing that the clock is about to expire. But is that impeding?
Yeah. If this Iron Dames car was on a lap, that was huge impeding, and yeah, very aggressive. And I can only assume the speed was so low to try and get some of the temperature out the tyres and brakes, and just cross the line in time for one more push. That was the Rossina Pret car, I think, that was the very slow one. There, bouncing up the curb, is Nicola Piri, whose session has put him 12th and has had a lap deleted for a track limit offence at turn 3. Car's looking pretty spicy as the tyre drops away, and Perry backing that up as well. It's just amazing how much you can hear from the trackside mics today. It feels like engine noise always amazing, but the tyres under braking, can hear them screaming for mercy as these cars try to anchor up on these big, fat, slick Pirelli tyres, offer so much grip. And we talk about them peaking, as they seem to have peaked, because we were very wide and that would be a track limit, and it would be wise to box, because you're going to lose this lap no matter what, Luca Perry, or not. And Nicola Piri stays out. He was up the curb and the car's sideways. It's been messy, this, but he will take the checkered flag. So over the line he goes, and that does actually herald an improvement up to 12, the 2:21.1. And that was, I think, a lap that stayed. An earlier one had been deleted. We're not actually given the number of laps that the cars have done on this timing display, but Piri's lap, at least for now, stays. 2:21.1 is the time. So Mike Simpson takes the fastest time. Lawrence Tomlinson and Mike Simpson are down in the endurance pits. Bryn's had a bit of a walk, but he has found them. There's much celebration. Let's hear from the pair.
Well, Lawrence, it's a pretty good advert for your little brand, Ginetta, when you look at it, because currently you've got pole in both races.
Yeah, it suits our car around here. It's just a great fun. I mean, the circuit's amazing, but the car's such fun to drive around here. I made a big mistake on my actual quali lap, but managed to recover from that with a bit of a spin. So, but Mike was the superstar in all of this, really.
We'll come to Mike in just a second, but Ethan Galdini also got pole as well in his class. So you've got pole in both silver and in Pro-Am, which is great for the brand. It's great for you as a company owner with Ginetta, the founder of Ginetta.
Yeah, Ginetta's a manufacturer. We just try very hard, but we are a small family business. But it makes the headlines when we've got a double pole, but not quite as a double pole at Monza for Merck. So it's not, you know, we try very hard, and you know, the car's such fun. I'm driving it in America, so I'm getting more familiar with the car, and with setups getting better every round. So super excited about it. And the sister car was amazing as well in silver with the lads in it.
Well, let's speak to the pole sitter, overall pole sitter as well for race 2. Mike.
It's been a while since anybody's said that, but you know, Saturday morning, not a cloud in the sky. You're at the most iconic track in the world, low fuel, new set of tyres. I mean, you've got to give it some, haven't you? And I did a tiny little sphincter lift at Eau Rouge in top, and I was disappointed, but yeah, it's great. I mean, that's what we all come racing for, isn't it? And what a stunning job. I mean, from Monza, we struggled a bit in a lot of straights, and we're probably the least powered car here. But how a chassis comes alive on a track like this, and Lawrence continued the development from Monza to Road Atlanta, had a win in America, and we've put both cars on the ground this weekend and fully on the money. And CMR's doing a cracking job. So no. Poles for show and races for dough, so we'll see where we end up this afternoon.
Well done, you've done all you can. Good luck later on.
Thank you, cheers. Thank you.
And in that race later on, it will be Lawrence Tomlinson who starts, because it is the grid from the first driver, and Mike will bring it home. But as far as this session is concerned, Mike Simpson is your pole winner from Michael Muir, Simon Birch third, J-Mo Hurtling ahead of Antoine Potti, then Sarah Bovy, Reinhard Koffler and Moritz Wiskirchen rounding out the top 8. After that, 9th quickest was the Stefan Rossi and Louis Pret Audi from Adrian Farrer and Brandon Oxley, Victor Marash and Leonard Marionech from Nicola Peri, Neil Montserrat, Shertrop Kalzava ahead of Philippe Pret, and Nicola Peri did lose his last lap, but he ends up 15th from Petrolicia, Jack Russell, Rodri Gillian, Oliver Frymont and Patrick Michelier, the sole Ferrari driver at the foot of the times. So race 1 due to start just after 4:30. We'll be on a little bit before that down on the grid talking to drivers as we get set for our first of 2 GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli races of the weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see you for racing later on.